In Washington State, 100 miles southeast of Seattle, stands Mount St. Helens, one of 20 major volcanoes that form part of the Cascade Mountain Range. Before May 18, 1980, Mount St. Helens was at the center of a thriving recreational paradise and prosperous timber industry. But beneath the beauty laid an ominous secret. The mountain was brewing something that had a deadly potential. The story begins on March 20th, 1980, when a 4.2 magnitude earthquake awoke Mount St. Helens from a slumber that had lasted 123 years. The last known eruption was witnessed in 1857 by local Indian tribes. In 1980, the earthquake was an alarming sign, because earthquakes may be an indication that an eruption may be building up. Scientists quickly flocked to Mount St. Helens to study and hopefully predict when and if the mountain would erupt. When scientists began to study the mountain, they saw that the north face of the mountain began to bulge out. Measurements showed that the bulge was growing outward at a rate of 5 feet per day. By the beginning of May, the north face had bulged out 450 feet from its original size. As the bulge grew, the north face of the mountain became more and more unstable. As time went on, earthquakes began to become more frequent and more powerful. Authorities started to limit access to the mountain and evacuated people that lived in the vicinity near the mountain. But after May 14th, the earthquakes almost subsided and the bulge began to grow at a slower rate. On May 17th, authorities gave in to pressure and allowed some people with property inside of the restricted area to gather up whatever they could. But the next day, on May 18th at 8:32 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, Mount St. Helens erupted. A 5.1 earthquake triggered the north face of the mountain to collapse in one of the largest recorded landslides ever, filling the valley below up to 600 feet with debris. The eruption itself released 24 megatons of energy. The magma inside Mount St. Helens burst forth into a large-scale pyroclastic flow and flattened vegetation and buildings for up to 230 square miles. For more than 9 hours, a vigorous plume of ash erupted, eventually reaching 16 miles high. Ash from the eruption was found collecting on top of cars and roofs the next morning as far away as Edmonton, Canada and Idaho. It tore a gaping hole in the mountain 2 miles wide and over 2,000 feet deep. Yet after all of this, another danger lurked on the horizon. Hot volcanic ash had melted the snowfields on top of the mountain. Hundreds of tons of meltwater had mixed with soils, creating a series of lahars that cascaded down the slopes. The biggest of these lahars on its way down the mountain reached record speeds of 90 miles per hour and raced over hills as high as 20-story buildings. It destroyed a total of 27 bridges, 200 homes, and more than 185 miles of roads were completely wiped out. It dumped 65 cubic miles of mud along the way. A thick layer of ash covered the ground for miles in every direction, some as deep as 2 feet 200 miles away. In the wake of the destruction, 57 people were dead, along with thousands of deer, elk, bears, and other wildlife. 230 square miles of old-growth forest were destroyed instantly. Now, after 30 years, the area is returning to normal again and adapting to the new landscape. Streams, rivers, and lakes are clean and flowing normal again. Plants and trees are taking hold in the fertile volcanic soil. Elk and other animals have migrated back to the mountain. The scars in the land are slowly healing with time. The mountain is quiet again, for now. But in the future, it will erupt again.